Tartaria Australia with Kelly Jones, Cambell Purvis, looking gorgeous, and me from Quantum Truths, JCK. So we've got an update for all of you. Some of you may know and some of you may not know. Kelly, Cambell and I are intending on doing a tour. We're doing a tour in every major city and hopefully eventually overseas. But our next event after our amazingly sold out, incredible trip to Melbourne in June was the Brisbane event, which we had planned for October. But something happened and we had to stop ticket sales. So Kelly, do you want to tell us quickly what happened as to why we had to stop ticket sales?
Listen, guys, it just wouldn't be Tartaria Australia if we didn't have some fucking friction at the beginning. Like, we're just setting the tone. I'm surprised Cambell is even on right now. Like, the interference whenever we do this sort of stuff. Okay, so unfortunately, I have to stand here and declare that we have not been able to pin in a date. A couple of variables have happened. There's a lot of questions about the content around what we're doing. People are very nervous about this amazing, they should be very nervous about the amazing program busting material that is the three of us with Tartaria Australia. So that was one variable and it did limit our venues. We are in Brisbane, so the venue, the options with the venues are much smaller than Melbourne, as we're finding out. And we hit the wedding season, the crazy October weddings, which means, unfortunately, even though we've got a whole team working on working out this tour, we have not been able to set a venue in Brisbane for October. So that is the unfortunate news. Of course, every time this happens, something way better happens as a result, because we never stop. So you guys go, tell the next phase. So don't panic yet, anyone.
Go on, Cambell. Go on, Cambell. Tell us what's happening next.
Panic. Yes. So we've had to reschedule. Obviously, what we've decided to do is to just reschedule a couple of months in the future. So we're looking at the start of February, so we can avoid venue issues. It'll be a lot quieter. We'll be able to get a better venue, and that's, we want it to be a good day. And of course, some people out there have already purchased tickets. Do not worry. Of course, all those tickets will be valid at the actual event that'll be in February, but we're also going to have a VIP special little event, and this is only for the early birds, guys. So if you're one of the early birds who jumped in and grabbed a ticket, you get a special bonus. And basically, we've already got a venue for that. We can find one for 100 people. And Kelly Jones is going to fly in. I'm going to zoom in, and JC is going to zoom in. So we're going to do a little mini.
Yes. Oh, just as he cuts out, Cambell.
Oh.
Just as he cuts out. So this is great.
Cut out.
Just as he cut out. You said it all, let it cut out. So this is fantastic. So we made an executive decision yesterday with our little team, who are amazing people working behind the scenes. And it is that we are still going to honour the people who bought the tickets for October the 22nd. It is a beautiful, intimate little event. We found a venue for a smaller event for 100 people that have been sold. We cannot sell any more tickets because you won't fit in the venue. And you guys will have this beautiful little extra bonus on top of being able to...
On top, it'll be absolutely free. It's a bonus.
Yes. And then you'll get your tickets honoured for the February event. And we're planning, Kelly, we're all dedicated to, we've committed, Kelly said, are you committed to this, JC? Are you committed to this, Cambell?
It's a big one.
Every couple of months from February, so about 8 to 10 weeks, every 8 to 10 weeks, we're doing a different venue. So we're going to be like rock stars touring.
We're taking on tour. We're taking on tour. Tartaria rock band.
That's actually why I've been growing my hair all this time,
Yeah.
It's just for the
and
pictures.
that's why I've added the glasses.
Exactly, the glass.
It's going to be really cool. So our plan is to do a sweep of all the capital cities of Australia every 2 months or so. We're going to get all of these dates booked in now. So the whole tour is booked and scheduled in, so we don't have this issue ever again we've actually got an amazing team of volunteers from our audience that have stepped up and is helping us coordinate this movement. And we're going to do like one sweep, and then we're going to do another sweep again, and we're just going to keep going until we can get to that stadium number, which is like the mission, you know, to actually fill a stadium of unprogrammed, program busting community. And because that's what I want. That's where I want us to get to. I want to see what an audience of 100,000 people is under, like, coming together with this sort of context. And I mean, if we thought 500 in Melbourne was like the most awe-inspiring event ever, like, let's get to 100,000. That's our aim. And
hopefully fill the MCG, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing, and the content will always evolve. It's just going to keep evolving and growing as we keep expanding our minds and thinking of all the impossible things that are possible. So the plan is you're going to get an email. So if you've bought a ticket, you'll get an email to also explain this. We've got this video to explain it, and we were thinking of calling you personally, possibly. Right. And we do have a number to call, which we'll put in the link below. Okay, we'll put in the description below.
We've got a Tartarian hotline.
A Tartarian hotline if you've got real issues. If you've got any issues or any questions regarding your tickets that you bought for Brisbane, okay? So there is going to be a phone number.
Because we've got, like, we understand, guys, that you've actually made the effort. Not only have you bought the ticket, which is easily transferable to the next event, but some of airline tickets, and some of you have booked accommodation. Now, I know that there's usually no problem in changing accommodation dates with no cost, but the airline tickets we are conscious of for those who have made the big effort and trusted us and flown in and booked those tickets. If your ticket is not refundable or you have an issue changing dates, we are going to help you with that. We don't want you to be at a loss because of that, because of our issue with finding a venue. So we do ask that anyone who has got a ticket issue with an airline to please call the number we provide down below, and one of our amazing volunteers is going to work with you to workshop the issue and get it all squared up and in perfect harmony with everyone. So we are committed and dedicated to making sure no one is at a loss because of this. Okay. So I'm really so grateful and honored that we sold 100 tickets before I cut it off, knowing that we haven't found. I'm really honored that people have made the decision to fly in and do all of that, but we don't know which ones of you did that. So we don't know which ones of you are from Brisbane or the Northern Rivers. We have no idea. So please put your hands up and let us know. Please, you'll get an email after this, but please let us know and let us workshop it out with you. Okay. Yeah. You
all should have an email in your email box, so go and check there. And yeah, if you've got any issues at all, call the number. It's down below in the description. And it was out of our control, but we are doing our best to make it a good experience for everyone. And we're all committed to a full year of Tartaria Australia. So there's a lot of big things coming, guys. So stay tuned. 2023 is the year. All right, guys, that's it. So we'll end it there. See you then. All right, guys. Bye.
See you guys.
See ya.
Hello, Tartaria Australia. Woo! Welcome back, Cambell and JCK. Our first catch up for a while, guys.
I know. I love our background.
Yep, straight off the website. It's if no one's been on the website, this is a cool little groovy video montage that I made a couple of months ago. So it's pretty cute.
So
Kelly,
you're on the farm.
I'm standing. Yes. Look at me. Look at this. Look at my shag.
Pooing in a hole.
I'm just standing. Pooing in a hole. No shower. I'm just standing here in the bush. I'll actually show you my actual real setting for a second to give context of my situation right now. But yeah, lots has happened. Hang on, look. So this is actually where I'm standing. And behind me is where I'm putting a pile of pigs. Tartarian farming live. But I have very little control of the elements around me right now. So I'm getting windswept. But anyway, Natural. I'm au naturel.
You look gorgeous. You look gorgeous,
Very
baby.
nice.
So you got
Wow.
new theories. We're running against time because you're on a phone. So
You're gonna get one.
That's
tell
all
us,
right.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Well, look, we so I've been at Norfolk Island all of last week because there was a conscious community gathering there. It was really cool. A lot of the old guard, a lot of the indigos, you know, the sort of generation a bit above us, and
Ooh.
Oh, Kelly, just when you get to the juicy bits, it all starts
so it
going
was
wobbly.
really cool to stand there, and
We lost you a bit there, Kelly.
Kelly.
there was a few diehard fans.
A few diehard fans, that's what I heard.
Motion out.
The internet is again.
Can you hear me?
All
We can
we
hear
heard
you
was a
now.
Can you
few
hear me now?
diehard
Can you hear me?
fans.
Can you hear me?
See, you're moving.
I'm moving. Am I not no good?
Well,
No
no,
good?
you're moving. You're good. Tell us about the old guard.
All right. Okay, yeah. So there was a few diehard Tartarian fans who flew over for the event. Amazing. There was some big fans of yours in the audience, JC. Like,
Oh,
but
great.
apart from that, there no one had really heard about Tartaria. You know, they're all very big energy workers and sort of in their 60s, 70s, sort of John. And so it was really interesting. I introduced, obviously we had to start with flat earth. I had to start there because we have to start there. And that put a lot of people out because, you know, there's a lot of identity, you know, and a lot of
Canadians, man.
graphical content around the cosmic galactic realm when it comes to the new age sort of movement. Yeah. Because you know, they had to go through all the, like, not only did we start with flat earth, and there was the giants, and there was the mountains and the trees, and basically fucking everything summarized till the end of it. They're just like, well, you know, everything's a lie. And I'm like, that's right, welcome to the program, Buster.
You have passed.
So interestingly, the talk before my last one was all about the solar flares and the solar flashes. There's a lot of focus on this at the moment, the ascension symptoms. And I started to realize that people are talking about all these like flat flares coming off the sun, and it's affecting the Schumann resonance, and it's affecting how we're feeling. And then I was like, actually, you know what? It's not flashes or flares coming off the sun. It's actually that there's another sun emerging into our realm. So like we've got these two suns that have appeared,
Yes.
and they of course are affecting us for the what we've termed ascension symptoms. But all this energetic shift in the Schumann resonance, I actually think is to do with the introduction of the two suns, which links it. There is a reset, and that this, and watch the sky, because the sky is where all that like simulation's going to break down. So when we start to look at our reset timeline, always, and Campbell and I did a show about this last time, which is about all the way looking through artwork of there's pictures of three suns, four suns, two suns, one moon, four, all this shift in how many suns are there. So, and the other part of the artwork is it's like full on armies emerging out of the suns, like huge, like beasts and armies that are coming out. So we're like, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, and what's
yes,
half the world waiting for, right? The return of
the return of the sun. What about this, the notion of the two? You mean, we talked about the two worlds split. You've heard of that theory and things like that. Could it be that the two worlds, or the two versions of the worlds, each has a sun, and that's what we're seeing? That's the anomaly we're seeing in the Matrix.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
that is so possible.
Because I definitely, and you know, and people of Australia said that in the prophecy that Stephen and Evan Strong were talking about the two world split, that there was actually a two world split. Dolores Cannon talks about this as well, as though the world is splitting in two. But there is this, we're not quite sure if it is an actual visible split or a vibrational split that is spliced over the top of one another, or is bleeding into one another.
It's almost like we're catching up with ourselves, isn't it? But this is the thing about all these, you know, ghosts and things that, and, you know, cats, you know, see all this stuff, and animals, and there's all this stuff that seems to be just outside our perception, including a second sun, right? So is that, you know, we're in the same space but on different frequencies. We just can't quite see that yet.
Well, this is, I've been dabbling in, I just came back from the UK and I've been dabbling. This fits in with the Gnostics. A lot of people don't know, and I will do a video about this, about Gnostics. I just realized I'm a Gnostic, basically. I'm basically I'm like a modern day Gnostic. I'm a neo-Gnostic. Essentially,
define that.
Okay, so the Gnostics have this certain tenets that they all kind of subscribe to, which is that this was the false earth, and that there was a real earth, that there is a demiurge, which is not the real God, and there is the real God, which is source, and the demiurge is the God of this matrix, or is the creator of this matrix, and he was sprung from Sophia. He was, and so we've got and then we've got the archons and all of that. And this is the stuff that I've experienced myself in these entities that have sort of invaded this false earth, this parasitic realm. And then we've got the real earth, which we're trying to get, we're trying to get back to. And their whole purpose, guess what the Gnostics did? They would do astral journeying. They would try and meditate. They would try to reach source, because they knew that source, the pure divine source, the real God, their alien God that was not this demiurge, was the source of all answers, right? And that was their endeavor. And they were also searching for the real earth, like the true earth. And that is essentially what Tartaria is. So that's my theory. My theory is that Tartaria exists in a higher frequency, and it's where we're originally from. And that's why you're seeing you're seeing the sort of like castles in the air, or places in this other realm, this other higher vibrational frequency. So that could also be the two suns as well. I do believe they talked a lot about light as well, and the Gnostics talked about that, but I'd have to go back and check. But this sort of fits in with your two sun theory.
So Cathars were wiped out as well for their beliefs, and a lot of them actually committed suicide when they got trapped. So they clearly didn't think that this was the real reality.
Wait, who committed suicide?
Cathars.
The Cathars.
Right.
They didn't choose the best.
And the Gnostics were wiped out too, pretty much. Yeah, Gnostics were also.
And also all the native tribal people, and all that they had their own beliefs, were all systematically wiped out as well, and put into Christian, re-education camps.
Yeah. So why do you think they were hiding these two sons? Or what? Keep going with your theory, Kelly, and about.
Yeah. So what struck me is like, because I don't know if you've realized, but on YouTube there are like a plethora on Facebook of videos that people are posting now of two suns. Like they're literally capturing them from all over the world. Like, a sun to my left, a sun to my right at the same time, or the sun not setting till like midnight. Or there being literally two suns next to each other. There's been some images with three suns. Basically, there's people all over the world now noting anomalies in our skies, and it has a lot to do with the sun. And then the previous episode we did with Jason, he mentioned that through history, there have been several times eyewitness accounts where the sky turned off. And that behind that sky, they saw ships and or machines, whatever that meant in their cultural language, whatever terminology they could, use to describe it back then. We may have a much more sophisticated narrative looking at what that could be, but this is sort of like in the 11th century, I think, in the 12th century, Cambell, if I remember it correctly. So basically, if we're going to look at everything being a simulation, I think where it's going to break down as we get closer to the reset is in our skies. So if we're going to look sort of like in the next couple of months at any sort of event that occurs, it's going to be in the skies. And the idea of there being another sun coming, of course, we've got Bill Gates with his whole push to block out the sun. And then we've got the whole worship of the black sun. And then we've got this whole notion of what the fuck is the moon. But at the end of the day, all the way through art, because I love looking at the art through, I know I can't say through history anymore, because we don't even know what that is. We don't know the timeline edits on what is history, but there's certainly definitely enough art evidence that there have been suns that have appeared and disappeared during reset time periods, and that things have entered the realm, kind of like entered the video game. Whole other populations, cultures, and beasts have come out of the sun. So is the sun the color it is because it shows you the light behind the firmament? Are the stars the color they are as pinpricks in the firmament, as the light that's behind it, you know? So
well,
very fascinating. What are your thoughts?
The things that I've gotten, I can only talk about from explorations of astral journeys, and altered state explorations, including deep hypnosis when you get into a theta state, where you are accessing your unconscious mind, which is the part of the mind that is not blocked by the ego. Okay, so you're actually getting pure information from source, which is essentially what the Gnostics were seeking. They were seeking that knowledge from source because they knew that this was false. Everything that you're talking about is exactly what the Gnostics were talking about. They were talking about that this being a mechanized world, it was a false world. They were the ones saying that no, this God is bullshit, right? And they were the first actual conspiracy theorists, actually. Okay, but they really were, and there was an actual sect of them. There was an actual sect of them called the Sethians, and they were really, really like, hey guys, we're really fucked. We're in a bad situation. So they were quite pessimistic about it all. But this exploration, I'll just explain to you to back up. Through explorations in my own self and other documented cases of hypnosis, for example, the planets are not balls, they're portals. That's come through in my sessions so many times, that and the stars are not solid, they're actually plasma light, and they're actually light beings with consciousness. Okay, but whenever they talk about it in my sessions, whenever they've talked about Venus, they keep saying that I'm from Venus, and I'm like, what the hell? And they're saying it's not a planet, it's a love portal, it's a portal of love with a frequency of love. And I have seen visions of what is Venus and what it looks like, and it looks like freaking Tartaria. So there's my theory that this portal of a higher frequency with love looks like kind of like Tartaria mixed with that elven world in Lord of the Rings movie, you know, that sort of beautiful cliff top sort of faces with green, and then you've got sort of these Tartaria structures, these buildings, these gorgeous buildings, and this free energy. So so the notion of the sun being a portal is definitely backed up by accounts of people exploring in quantum realms when they're doing the hypnosis. So when they're doing the QHHT sessions or other sort of sessions, they're all sort of speaking about this same sort of thing. But having said that, everything is possible, because we've also got evidence of people in their hypnosis sessions and astral journeying seeing the world as though from the solar system sort of perspective, right? Of a black sky, and there's planets and there's solid sort of things. So I'm not quite sure if in this matrix simulation we are seeing a false sky.
I think so.
And that's the overlay, the sort of the overlay, or the filter that we are being, that some of us are being shown, is the filter of, oh, there's this big expanse with balls floating around in the sky, and then the real sky where true source creator comes from, or the real realm that we come from, are these portals, and they're just layered realities of different frequencies that you can travel to through wormholes and portals. Does that make sense? A multiverse.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so essentially then we've all come from different places, essentially there's different places that everyone's come from. That's why we have all these, we know there's people you can't even talk to, right? They're from a different planet. We even say they're from a different world. What the hell, where are they doing? And maybe that's it, maybe, and that would also account for a lot of the, what we can see, because that would be a memory, right? So some of us, if we're from, let's say Venus, and it's a Tartarian type looking thing, then we would see that a lot quicker and easier than people who didn't have a reference point for that, right? They've never seen it before, so they're like, what the hell are you talking about? You're an idiot.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, so
Yep.
I mean, and I think this is one of the big things we're seeing at the moment is no one sees the world like we do. We can't expect people to see it the same way. You know, there is no correct. There's only right for you, right for your perspective. So all this arguing is completely pointless.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that, like, you know, I don't travel anywhere now without looking at hills and mountains as something alternative to hills and mountains. You know, like I look at it and think that could be a fallen titan. That definitely was a cut down. Like, because we've seeked the knowledge, like now, our perception. So simultaneously, right now, there are heaps of people that have seen two suns. But unless you're looking for that information, unless it's even occurred to you that that is a concept, like you could die on this realm and have no idea of that. Yet there's hundreds of thousands of people who are like documenting it every day. So we are already experiencing that simultaneous, like, massive melting pot of realities, like operating all the time simultaneously at once. Yeah. So I guess the question is, like, sorry, go on. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, it sort of begs the question of what's this all about, right? Are we all from different places and we're just all here to learn to get along?
That's the $1 million question, Campbell. What is life? Why are we here?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
What is life? What's it all about?
I mean, it's true. Like, are we? Sorry,
I was just going to say, I definitely subscribe to that this is a simulation and that something is false about it. I definitely resonate with that. And I definitely believe that there is something beyond the falseness, but we will never get to the end of it because eternity is eternity, you know? And so, but exploring this and decoding it and seeing the anomalies in the matrix, which is another thing I was going to explain to you, that there were documented cases of people's experiences in their hypnosis, was that one of their multidimensional facets of themselves is a being that checks for anomalies in the matrix and patches it up. So there's a really famous sort of little account which I was going to share with you guys, but there's actually a person that was going around checking the sky. She was a being. This is another version of herself, another incarnation, a simultaneous incarnation, where she's checking to see if the sky is matching up, because people started seeing things not quite right, or pixelated things, or birds standing still in the sky and frozen.
Yep.
Right. And because we now have this technology in front of us, this little black screen, right, we've got this ability to document, not just in engravings like the old days. We can document these anomalies now, and we're seeing them more and more. And that is part of the awakening. But the light and the solar flash and all of that is also seen for me as a metaphor of light and enlightenment. And we are made of light, because all our DNA is actually hollow. If you know, we're full of space, but we're also emanating light. And when we talk about in metaphors, when someone is full of light, they're also full of awareness. They're full of the light of God, and they have that enlightenment. But when they are infiltrated and dark, and then there's something clouding them and clouding their ability to see, we sort of see that their lights sort of switch off, and that they're no longer recognizing and seeing the truth. So that's also part of the solar flare sort of theory, and the light coming back. So we could see that two suns is the metaphor for two worlds colliding, two worlds coming back, the new world coming in. Also, a lot of the people who are in charge of this realm, the archons. Archon just means those in charge. Yeah, those in charge. Yeah, those in charge. So these archons that the demiurge created, or like the lower sort of ranking guys of the demiurge, who are in charge of this reality, they have a lot of symbolism in their secret societies and all of that, of a dawn, a new dawn. Okay, so there's always this sun
Yes.
rising, and the
Mm.
sun is always present,
Yep.
of a new world order or a new dawn. The Golden Dawn is one of
Yes.
the groups.
They even said the dawn of the new world order, didn't he?
Yes,
George Bush.
absolutely. And it's always in their symbolism, and it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum they're on. This is always being shown, is this dawning of a new day, or this new sun rising, right?
Yep. Yes. I mean, when you ask the question, like, what is it all about? Like, what is the purpose of all of this? I mean, I've always operated under the idea that the mandate of the human being is to make known the unknown. Like that is our mandate. Like if we're to stay alive and healthy, we need to be in a state of making known the unknown. If we stop doing that and just get comfortable and just stop that process, we end up aging basically and dying. It is like our mandate. It's our life force. So, is that all it is? Like, are we just here in this simulation attempting to make known the unknown, and then we know it, and then we move to a broader version of making known the unknown? I mean, how far have we come, in this lifetime alone, like the three of us in our processes of what is reality, and the layers of how we now have an elegance in our ability to express it and explain it now, because we've spent so many years attempting to make known the fucking unknown. And I mean, where does this lead us next? Like, where does it lead us, guys? Where do you think this is all going? Like, what's your thoughts?
I think it never ends, because that
It never ends.
we are. I mean, Campbell's disappeared.
Sorry, Campbell.
It never ends. So again, back to my theory of everything. My theory of everything is that we are fragments of a true source, a divine source that always was and always will be, and that divine source, these sparks or these fragments, these fractals, broke off, and in knowing itself, this source, it expanded out, and every possibility, every permutation, every potential, every idea was explored. Okay, and so as we explore and we understand and we try to dissect and learn, that's part of the game. That's part of why we're here. The dark and light working hand in hand with each other. The notion that we are trapped is also a lie in a way, because it's also part of the game to give us something to do, right? It's like, now I'm this soul that's part of the omnipotent sort of source of everything, right? I'm this soul that is eternal and has no ego. And then my soul said, right, I'm going to go into that game over there, right? In one of the lifetimes, I'm going to go into that game and I'm going to pretend that I'm stuck and I'm going to find my way out. That's what I think this is about. So that whole notion of exploring the unknown and expanding is exactly all we are here to do. And every single permutation of that and variable of that, the downs and the ups and the lows and the highs and all the grief, we keep forgetting who we are. We keep forgetting that we are part of this source, this divine creator, not the demiurge, not the religious God, okay, the God of religion, but the true source. We keep forgetting that because that's the game.
A giant game of make-believe. We all did it when we were kids. Like, imagine, like, as a kid, if you were like in that amazing game of make-believe, and then suddenly you woke up in it and you had no memory then of what was real and what isn't. You'd just be in a perpetual state of make-believe, literally make-believe.
That's fucking awesome. I love it.
It's a giant game of make-believe.
Program out of us, right? I think that's what we're supposed to do, but they program it out of us, and we're supposed to create things and then live into them, right? But we get taught, no, that's just stupid. You've everything physical, rah rah rah. So, I mean, maybe that's the game as well. Is they sort of put you in here and say, haha, see, you're nothing. Let's see if they'll work out that that's the absolute opposite to what's true. Will they?
Yeah, it's like
wake up themselves, or they climb themselves? If they got the character, it's almost like primary school, isn't it?
Yes,
we've got to sort of prove ourselves. And Jason kind of says, like, at the end of this, simulation, we get a light body, and this is like a superhero body, right? And so his take is sort of, well, you wouldn't give, you don't give a Ferrari to a 15-year-old, right? That you've got to wait till they have the skills to drive properly. They're not going to kill themselves and other people. So maybe that's what this is. We're earning our license to drive the light body.
I'll put that in another perspective, Campbell. I do believe that we have a light body, but I believe that everything exists all at once. So the light body is already formed and it's already there.
Yeah.
It is just us reaching, or it's like us going back in time and remembering how we got back to our light body. That's what we're doing. We're playing out the thing that already exists and remembering it in real time. That's what this density does. It kind of slows everything down into this real time where we experience past, present, and future, but everything exists all at once. So what we're doing in this density is practicing, remembering, and exploring the how we got to that. So I think we put the clues in here ourselves, our higher versions of ourselves or other, so that we could remember how we got to that.
Yeah, like a giant game of make believe you don't have a light body. Yeah, let's make believe you don't have a light body. Let's see what that looks like. I mean, it's true. Like we just basically, it's all there. It's all similar. It's all there. We just have to like make up our way towards
it's like a kid. I mean, look at kids, right? With bugs and stuff. They're always just sitting there, just staring at these tiny little bugs. Are they thinking, I wonder what it's like to be that bug? And is that the thought that our higher self had,
Well, it looks like we've worked out the meaning of life, so that's it. No more shows.
That's it. All right. just make known the unknown, people. That's it. I mean, that's why, look, to bring it back to Tartaria, that's why this is amazing.
I know, I thought that might be the answer, but if it wouldn't, we all disappear because we've got it.
No, because it's a mandate.
Oh, we've got to take.
It's a state of perpetual existence for us. Like there's no end to it. It's like saying, is there an end to make believe? Is there an end to your imagination? Is there an end to your imagination? Like, could you actually get to an end of what I've tried? I have tried to imagine the end of my imagination. And like, it's actually a paradox.
It's infinite possibilities, right? Infinite. It's infinite possibilities. So I'm going to propose something to you guys. What if there's infinite possibilities and everything conceivable and possible, then surely, and this is my belief, people think I'm a flat earther. I'm not. I'm a multi-earther. I believe that the earth is everything. I believe that it is flat and round, and it is all. It is like standing on one side of the number 6 and the other side of the number 6, and one person seeing number 9 and the other person seeing a 6. Both are right. It just depends on the perspective and depends on the point of view. Are we being lied to? Yes, I do believe that. But I think that in the exploration of everything and make everything known, all the unknown known, it never ends. It never ends. It doesn't. It can't, because it's infinite permutations. That is what source is. That's what source is, because if you think about source is everything, right? So we came from this source being, and it is everything that you could, if you wanted to create a game, you would have to create everything possible ever, right? Ever. Anything that could ever possibly happen. Like right now, Kelly could just go and jump in a pile of poo, and like there's all these versions of Kelly doing different things all at once, right? Same with me. Even me moving my hand, there's me doing this, there's me doing this, there's all these potentials. It has to be like that, right? So if that's the case, then the flat earth theory is one theory and one definite possibility and one reality. And so when we try to describe that, we find all through confirmation bias, we find the equations and that it works and things like that. And then you've got this other theory of people who can't see it and they don't understand it, just the same way as some people can see Tartaria structures, and once you see it and open your consciousness to that, you can see it. And when you can't, and then that's it. It expands your mind and expands your world.
Yep.
So I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to say that there's infinite possibility, so it never ends.
Well, I mean,
How's
I
this-
agree. Go, Campbell.
Oh, you go.
No, my
So I was
friend.
watching some videos on, and they were just people who think they might have gone to or be in an alternate reality, and a lot of them it was to do with death experiences, but they didn't die. But ever since that, they feel things are different. So we have this concept of multi universes, worlds, realms, whatever, and us there being an alternate of us in all of these different realms. So we have this phenomenon of NPCs. The NPCs in this world, just the bodies that aren't the conscious aware perspective of that being, if you know what I mean. So you can only be conscious in one of these worlds, and all the other versions of you are the NPCs. And so and then when we die, instead of dying, do we just jump to another world and inhabit that body and keep going?
That's quite possible.
That's a great theory.
That's quite possible. Can I tell you my own experience with that? I did a past life regression. Well, let's just call it, I call it simultaneous life regression, because when you focus on a past life, it actually activates it. So it's like it's existing, it's always existing, and it's always ready to be activated when the consciousness goes to it and thinks about it. Okay. So in this past life regression, I died in one life, and it was in Normandy, during the Battle of Normandy, and I was this aristocratic woman. I don't know, she was a young lady. I got killed, and so the hypnotherapist tells me to go back to that point of death, and he says, what do you see around you? And I suddenly, after I get killed, I wake up in my own bedroom in that lifetime, in this castle, right, as this aristocratic woman. And then suddenly that reality fades away, and I'm on a ship, and it's a white ship. And I'm looking around me, and I'm looking at my hands, and they don't look like the pale-skinned, ginger-haired woman that I was. I have completely different hands, and I look down and I see this guy in like a spacesuit, and he's like unhooking something from this chair I'm sitting in, and I go, who are you? And he goes, you always say that. And I go, where am I? And he says, okay, let me explain it. This is a simulation. You were in a simulation. What you just experienced wasn't real. We go in, we help the humans, and then we come out. This is a simulation. And I'm just like, what the hell, right? So this is actually the life between lives in a past life, which I had no idea. I thought I was going to go to the light and see angels and all this stuff. But I'm experiencing my afterlife as a simulation, that I'm actually outside the simulation in a ship, in a mechanized system. It literally was like the Matrix. And I shit you not, I'm talking to this guy in the hypnosis in real time. Right? So it's happening now. It's like I'm under hypnosis and I'm talking to him, and it's playing out in real time. He's answering me and telling me the next thing.
So does that set up the premise that there's like beings, so that beings are coming in to support the humans, but there are native humans that aren't part of the simulation?
That's the NPCs. That's the NPCs.
Well, that's
because they're built into
let's talk a bit more about that.
Well, I believe that there is organic consciousness, right?
Yep.
So there's organic consciousness that came from source. And then there is this false second world, which is what the Gnostics talked about. The false world is what Lucifer, or whoever it was, Enki, you could say Enki, there's the whole story about the Sumerian tablets and things like that, created this false reality. It was kind of like, almost like this jealous God
Jehovah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Jehovah is the demiurge, right?
Yep.
So they created this other world. Okay, so there is a theory that there are multiple gods creating all these other worlds in this multiverse. Okay, so there's a matrix here and there's a matrix there and there's a matrix here. There's all these different sort of levels in these games. But in this game, where was I going with this? There has to be built-in characters into the simulation in order for that to operate. But there is quite a percentage of organic consciousness that comes in here. And the theory with a lot of the Gnostics and a lot of other people who are talking in the similar vein and are picking up on it is that some of our souls got trapped here. Okay, so we got trapped in here and kept playing the game, right? Yeah, we got trapped in here. So the organic souls came into these flesh suits, these meat suits, these simulations, and played it out. My theory is that all of it is a simulation. Every layer, every frequency, every dimension, all of it is a simulation. Because what's a simulation? We assume a simulation is something false and we're going to be duped, right? That somehow there's something nasty about it and nefarious about it. But the reality is, unless we're God, as in pure source, every other exploration of reality is a simulation. It's consciousness and God knowing itself in a simulation. What do pilots do? They do simulated flying because they're practicing, they're exploring. It doesn't mean it's nefarious. It just means that in different densities and frequencies, the consciousness, the soul, is exploring itself. It's God exploring and understanding itself. And so all of it is a simulation. But in this particular matrix, perhaps there are NPCs built in.
Which have you have to have something to give it context. Like there has to be that context.
Yes, there has to be the
like any
duality.
story has to have the context. So it's interesting. So when I say the words hijacking, it's interesting that it's jack. Like, so do you think the hijackings come in from here in the realm, or like literally virtually have they been hijacked within their, as you say, you woke up in a space craft or a craft, like is it more sort of like
I was humanoid?
Good. Good. Not that we would not.
I didn't look like an alien. No, I didn't look like an alien, and the guy unplugging me didn't look like an alien. He looked human, like he was a humanoid. But from my understanding, supposedly it was from Venus.
So, but like, is the hijacking, has it occurred here within the realm? So people are incarnating, or has it occurred virtually, where they're being sort of like virtually put into the realm?
Yeah, it's hard for us to comprehend because we have to think of it in a 3D visual perspective so that we understand. So this is where the dome concept comes in, right? So what I got shown in May last year, there was this massive download, and I never knew about any Gnostic text. I didn't study anything about it. Never, ever, ever. Okay. And I saw the real world and then this domed, darker, lower dense world, right?
Yes.
I also explored it in a recent video I did with Harms, where I did this sort of journeying, and I saw worlds. It was like in this giant, beautiful garden, and the really dark, dense sort of realm where we live in and have been trapped. The light was coming, and these parasitic entities that are the archons and their minions were trying to keep us locked in, right? So they were trying to keep us locked into this domed reality because the souls that were in there were trapped and they can't get out. The other thing is, here's the other belief, the archons themselves can't get out.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're fucking trapped.
They're trapped, and so they want to keep us in here, right? So they will feed off us. There is so many theories, the Dracos, etc. Some people believe the archons are Dracos. I don't think so. There's no sort of evidence to support that archons are reptilian, but there is interdimensional beings that have pervaded this reality, and they seem to be reptilian. And I know that the Dracos are completely riddled with AI, and they've infested this reality. So now we've got this this one version of the world that is infested with an AI that is kind of hijacking beings left, right, and center. This is where transhumanism comes in. This is why we've got some that are no longer present in their body. That it's almost like their organic consciousness left the body, because the body is just a vessel. It's just this. It's like a VR game, right? It's not a real. It's just a meat suit, okay? Because the real person is the soul.
Sexy fucking title there, man. Sexy fucking title. That could be a whole fashion line there, right? Meat suit.
What is it? Meat suit, yeah.
Meat suit. Very Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga with her meat suit, yeah. She showed that symbolism.
She did. You're just in a meat suit. That's why these entities want to feed off that. I mean, we could do a whole show about that. About how do they operate the system? How do they get in? The DNA is part of it. They definitely have these codes. There seems to be these light codes, that we get and we download from, right? Yeah. But these entities, they get in and they hijack us. So these are kind of like these cosmic suits, or these what would you call it, like a space suit sort of thing, going through the reality, the simulation. And it's either operated by the organic consciousness. Nearly everyone has kind of entity attachments, which is what I'm learning, because we are in a parasitic realm. So unfortunately, this particular simulation is completely infested with parasitic entities of all kinds. Of all kinds. So that's where the hijacking comes in. And then you've got the theory of the samsara cycle of the reincarnation, that they hijacked that as well, right?
Yeah. The whole go to the light or go to the dark thing. I mean, I forgot what I was going to say then, but with everything that's happening, like the whole it's like a virus, right? Like a computer virus. You know, it's being taken over. And what have we just gone through, right, for the last 2 years? You know, like this. It's everything's like this. Everything gets, you know, shown to us in the physical, right? But we've been. Well, the biggest trick is that people think that the physical comes first and then the thought comes, when it's actually the other way around. So we're all asking questions. That's probably why this whole virus thing popped up in the first place, to show us that we're being controlled by something, you know, that the V has control, or at least it wants it to. And so now we have, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, and he's got his little false world that he wants everyone to go and inhabit, right? Just like JC on the spaceship, he wants everyone putting their goggles on and sitting on their couch, and we know that there's something happening. So do you think that that's them trying to create another level down and keep souls
Matrix
and their food in another false matrix?
That's where
and a lot of us are going to escape, and they're just trying to.
Yes, absolutely. So the archons know that because archons, what is spoken about in the Gnostic text is that the archons can't create. They have no ability to create, okay? And so they need to use us to create and manifest. This is why I keep telling people to be careful of where they place their focus. We actually manifest things into being through thought and through our consciousness and our creativity. They'll often siphon our creativity. They'll often siphon it. You'll see, there's just so much we can talk about with creativity and modern education and what they've done to squash creativity. But they are siphoning our attention and placing it in a particular direction so that we can create their reality. Even putting stories out like what you just said, that starts to become into being. If they just float this idea out there, it actually manifests in the reality, right? Even the idea of parasites, do you know, in the physical body, so many people are infested with physical parasites. And usually it goes hand in hand with these other interdimensional parasites that are feeding the place. So there seems to be a great big focus of attachments and entities on the sacral chakra, which is where your belly button is. And where do you mostly have worms and parasites? In your gut area, right? In that whole area, and that's manifested. So that's the as above, so below. I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm just trying to say that they know we create our reality. And we're manifesting things into being. And this goes back into the theory about Tartaria, Kelly, where every time we explore and expand our mind, we see more evidence of what we're looking for, right? We keep seeing more and more evidence of what we're looking for out there in terms of Campbell, every time you do research, and I know Martin Ledke said the same thing. He said it's almost as if he's guided. He's like, he sees something, starts exploring it, and then it opens up and something tells him to open that book or look at that direction. And it just keeps opening up along the pathway because it's us expanding in the game and seeing more and more. So we're creating it as we go along. And that's why I think if we keep focusing on this world, we will manifest an activated Tartaria in this realm, right? We will manifest that.
Yeah. And that's why the media is going so hardcore at the moment, trying to, just believe us, just please stay in our world.
They want us stuck at home.
Come on, pew.
What did they tell us during the lockdowns? Again, do your part, stay at home and watch Netflix. They captivated our minds. How are you going, Kelly?
Sorry, my laptop's about to die, so I'm just walking into the shed. There's a smoko on, so the workers are not here making noise. So I'm just going to plug in.
Okay, good. I wanted to quickly tell you guys about I'm going to do a video about this. I've still got the footage from the UK. I just came back from the UK a few weeks ago. I saw a lot of Tartarian places there. I went and explored places like Bath, and there was also another.
I love Bath.
Another county called Warwickshire. Have you ever been to Warwickshire, Kelly?
I have. Yep.
Yeah, so Lamington Spa, which is a place where Alistair Crowley came from, and he actually also opened a portal there, which made sense as to why everything seemed really off. Because if you watch my video there having afternoon tea, I went and explored, and I was like, everything felt like worlds colliding. No shit, it felt like all these different frequencies all sort of smashed together, and nothing gelled. There was Tartarian structures mixed with these kind of council flat sort of stuff, and it was really weird. Everything felt weird. But I wanted to quickly talk about how I actually found the location of my Tartarian life, where I died and I closed that lifetime, and this, man, we've got to do another show about this.
Is this Cumbria?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I literally, it was when everything fell into the hands of these dragon families or Dracos, and that's when the frequency dropped, and all of that beautiful technology and we were left with crumbled ruins, and the frequency of this higher frequency sort of realm that we all seem to have explored at some stage of the game, and I meant that on purpose. Basically, it was no longer. It was one of the last families that got taken over. So the Dracos, here's my theory. The Dracos came in around about the time when the Julian calendar got shifted into the Gregorian calendar. Sorry, that was the last part of their infiltration, because it was happening for a few thousand years before that. When it finally dropped was about 1,000 years ago. But they were slowly but surely infiltrating the rulers of the world and whispering in their ears, and slowly infiltrating the bloodlines of each of these royal families and tribal families and different places, and sort of destroying that so that they could completely do a takeover. And that's what happened in that lifetime. And so when that finally happened, then the whole realm and the matrix sort of locked down, if that makes sense. The simulation happened.
Do you think that simulation, that lockdown, because I've always known it as a quarantine, that we've been quarantined. Was that done externally or accidentally? Like, was that done deliberately outside the realm to prevent this infiltration spreading like a virus?
So it depends on the perspective you take. If you take the completely highest perspective from God's point of view, everything is divine, meaning that God, that source allows it to happen, because this duality is how souls learn and how they expand and how they grow in all the grief and in all the torment, and every single thing is divine. Okay. And so in this tiny little reality, it was allowed to happen. Okay. It was allowed to happen. The demiurge was allowed to happen. His creation was allowed to happen, or that's creation was allowed to happen. And so this lockdown process is, in a sense, because all souls agree to doing the dance that they do. My soul agreed with the Dracos to have this dance, right? It was like, well, we had this, you're going to attack me and then I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. There's this thing going on a higher realm where there's an agreement. Soul agrees to these tragedies. And so from that perspective, yes, it happened, but it was allowed to happen. And then they playing out sort of thousands of years of a simulated reality in this density. But because there is no time doesn't exist. We are everywhere all at once. So we are also outside of this reality. There is a version of us in a higher frequency. There is a version of us in Tartaria that is activated. There is a version of us in a crystal city. There is a version of us on another planet. There is a version of us who is a Draco. There is a version of us who is, we are everything. We're part of consciousness. And so it depends on the perspective that you are looking at. I say to people when they're freaking out to not get caught up in the narrative. The narrative is fun to get lost in for a while so that you can play being human. But the reality is we have to keep stepping out of that to sort of ground ourselves and understand that there is a bigger picture here and that we came in here and chose it. We chose this, chose the pain. And people don't like hearing that. They get really angry when I say that. They don't like hearing it. I didn't choose this. I didn't choose for my son to die at, 10 years old. I didn't choose. You did.
Even if we can't prove or disprove that, what are you going to do, right? You're left with a choice, and you can choose to be empowered or you can choose to be a victim. And that's what it comes down to, I think, in the end. We always have the choice, right? We can choose that we're, eternal, all-powerful beings, or we can choose that we're just a little slave and poor little me, look at all these people harassing me. It's all a choice.
Yeah, and there's always a million more questions. It's always a constant flow of quests to go on. Like we'll never run that never ends.
Storybook be without quests.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I totally agree with everything you've just said. I that is an alignment with everything I've ever thought as well. I was never sure with the quarantine nature of the realm, if that was accidental or deliberate.
People say that because of the AI. That's why, Kelly. I think that's the theory that's floated out there, is that the Dracos came in and because they were infected with an AI, we ended up in the whole universe or multiverse got quarantined. And so they locked us down. But it's kind of like, how do we prove that? I mean, we can prove it through people's channelings or explorations in other realms. There doesn't seem to be hard evidence for it, but we can sort of gauge that could be a possibility, that our realm is overrun by AI, and we're seeing it manifested in this transhumanist agenda and how people are. And I've seen for myself a being with no soul. His soul's gone, and he's operating like a robot. And it's like an AI. It's asking questions and not waiting for an answer. And it's searching like a computer what to say next. It's literally like watching a robot. So we know that there is an AI intelligence that seems to be mostly in control of a lot of beings in this realm. And so that could be the quarantine.
And it makes total sense in relation to the solar flash concept. Like, because that surge would literally potentially fry the AI grid. And it's interesting that we've got, whenever there's a reset, we always see this concept of a flash. So if anything's going to disturb like all the electrical components of the grid, the AI grid, it would be that. But also it's interesting. Have you guys seen the movie Ready Player One?
No, but I've heard.
Have you guys seen? No. Yeah, look, I mean, it's basically it's so
that's VR.
Yeah, because it shows you the realm where there's a matrix within a matrix within a matrix, where it's so much more fantastical to be in this virtual realm within the realm. So it very much shows, where I guess they're heading on that level. Like, the world's kind of fucked, but like, here's this amazing virtual realm that you can enter, and you've got freedom to be anything you want.
What if the Flash is someone turning their modem on and off again?
Well, that's what I was just thinking exactly, right?
Reset.
As soon as you call a computer person, what's the first thing they say? Have you turned it on and off?
Have you turned it on and off? IT crowd.
Yeah.
Come on, famous line from IT crowd. Absolutely. So I think my other thing, exploration of these other realms and these parasitical beings and their minions that, these dark magicians that are here, the magic and all of that that's going on, is one of the things that keeps coming up is they're trying to stop the solar event from happening. These darker beings are trying to stop this light from coming, because darkness doesn't like light, because the light will expose them, right? So they are trying to stop through their minions, through this very convoluted, complex game. They're sending their minions out. They're summoning demons. The demons are attaching to people. There's these Dracos that also have their little minions, which could be these gargoyle creatures, these things that I saw underground under Australia. They are sending them out and they're infecting everyone, and they work with AI. So they're working hand in hand with entities, AI, disincarnate beings, okay? And they're sort of trying to suppress the consciousness and the light from the person coming through. The way I see it is, when I say someone's infiltrated, I see it like an aperture. So here we go back again with the light. I see it like aperture on a lens. So when someone's fully awake, their aperture is open and it's allowing the light to come in, and so they're receiving pure source divine creator information. Okay, this is the source of all things, which is what the Gnostics were searching for in their explorations. They would take substances to explore these other realms to get to true source and surpass the demiurge, right? And we talk about the false god and these false overlay, where we keep getting tricked by archons who are pretending to be other beings who are trying to trick us, steering us off course and going. So those people who are being infiltrated by AI, by Dracos, by reptilian, by black goo, by demonic beings, their aperture is slowly closing off from source, from light, right? So the darkness has infiltrated them. So the lights are on and nobody's home. Well, even the lights are switched off completely, right? So they can't get the truth of information. So they end up becoming these meat suits operated by like an AI type thing that the Dracos now control. The Dracos use the AI. That's the theory anyway. So even if you don't believe in reptilian beings, just know that there is an artificial intelligence that is definitely in our food.
Black goo.
Black goo, the programmable matter, the graphene oxide, this is all part of it.
And
so
of course,
much
exactly what's in the
Yeah, I mean, there's no way
self-assembly, and there's videos out there. No, it's an agenda. It's a clear agenda, and they love to make us think that invasions are when spaceships turn up from ball planets and that, and people will shoot lasers at you. But if you think of that, if they're coming here for a food source, they don't want to kill everyone, right? They just want to take over. And that's done over long term, and that's what it is. That's the whisperers getting in the ears of kings, and
they're in it for the
slowly just depower us, right? For the long run, we know this, right? It's everything. It's education. It's food.
And
It's the legal system, the money, whatever you want. It's all done. Terraformed, all to go against us, right? Destroy the old tech. They keep that from us. Use it for themselves. I mean, we know this, right? If you haven't. If you can't see it now, then go and buy a VR headset and good luck. Have fun.
I mean, and you can't ignore the fact that all of everything we know about Tartaria, they were running off steam. Like, that's why this steampunk movement is all about mechanical.
I was just thinking that because I was looking at the airship behind me, and I was thinking about all the steampunk movies and things that I love. Hayao Miyazaki. If you ever want to see steampunk stuff, I mean, just look at How's Moving Castle. That's all steam, you know.
Yep.
This is like, and it's this otherworldly kind of Tartarian structures and buildings in Kingsbury and all of that. He really understood that notion
It
of
was all
Tartaria.
water, steam, pneumatics, yeah, exactly. Because current, right? Current, water holds current.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Oh, I've got to have to do another show with you guys, because in my last hypnosis session, I did a regression to the Tartarian world, and there was waterways everywhere, and they worked, and I just knew they worked with the water, and there was this, and I slipped into the body just to get into the world. I slipped into the body of a guy who worked on the waterways in these canals, and he had leather boots on, and so it kind of is this high technology, but with what we would imagine otherworldly or older style costumes, and very quaint. Sort of, he had a thatched cottage. He had a thatched cottage, and but he lived near the water. And I knew that we used the water for doing everything, for operating our technology.
And that's a good point. Like we said, they turn everything against us, and definitely technology. Like, technology can be awesome. You know, it can be really helpful, but not the kind we've got. You know, the kind we've got is killing people. It's you know, giving people bloody psychosis and stuff.
This technology definitely in that world seemed to be harmonious with the environment, and it was clean. But the other thing that I knew about that realm was that wars still happened. It didn't mean that everything was perfect. There was still human conflict. There was still negativity. It's just that the way things,
perfect, right?
It's just that the way things worked and operated was a lot more. I would equate it to, I think you need to explore, Cambell, Vedic architecture and Vedic sort of that technology, that old world thing is technically what Tartaria is and how it worked. Every single measurement created a certain vibration in the buildings, because it was done exactly right, like just where everything was placed, how everything was measured, the calculations that they did.
Stuff.
So I think that was
Praveen
part of that
Mohan's
knowledge.
doing a lot on that at the moment.
Yeah.
Have you seen his latest, Praveen Mohan? And he actually shows that some of these, you know, pillars that we see that are intricately carved, they turn like crankshafts.
They do.
And he's showing that temples are actually machines. They're actually, like we've been saying, right? They're actual machines.
Hello, How's Moving Castle? You know, fucking oath. And that movie, like Immortal Engine, like it was all about the cities being mobile. You know, so many amazing steampunkish style genres. The whole cities move. They fly, they walk, they move, they're on boats, you know, like the whole steampunk movement is so fantastical. It really it inspires our imagination, and it's gorgeous to look at, and there's some context and texture to it that is completely absent in the AI realm. Like, you know, when you enter that virtual space, that like you're not having a sensory love affair with it. You know, you're having a virtual one, a visual relationship with it. Yeah, exactly. But when we
when we look saying, like, AI is cold, so of course, it
is. It's cold at 100%. And we look at all the images to do with like all the Tartarian technology. To how much has come out, Cambell? Beautiful pictures of trains and ships and cars, automobiles. Like the things that they moved in were just fucking works of art in onto themselves.
Yeah.
And
just the carriages, the horse carriages and stuff were ridiculous.
Unbelievable. You can't even believe that they're real. Like, honestly, you've seen this, JC, where they're just like the most gorgeous, like, creations ever, and it's ridiculous. And then you compare
like
that
Cinderella,
to,
you know, like we've seen fairy tales.
Just the like amazing, the ornateness that you see within the buildings themselves, like these amazing ornateness, like, and then transport that onto automobiles or carriages or whatever. It's all this, those libraries and the stairwells, the way that they're like so profoundly creative. And then you look at, like, I often think, you know, how many amazing, extraordinary artists are in this world who have been literally hijacked by Photoshop. Like, how much time do I spend on Photoshop? Like this AI program that I'm using all of my creative energy, and I've got a lot, and it's all channeling through this, you know, online design system, and so less on physically painting things.
Yes.
You know, and that's so within Photoshop being of service to me in some realm, because now everything we're doing is literally online. Like, I spend so, as an artist, how little am I developing my skills?
Exactly. And so
by
the dexterous,
exactly.
so the dexterous, and I was going to bring this up earlier about education. They've stopped teaching children how to do cursive writing. So I remember when I was my daughter's age, who can barely write, I taught myself cursive. If you see my handwriting, I've got really good handwriting, guys. I've got really beautiful curly handwriting, right? And I, from a very young age, knew how to use these, and you had to make things, and that creation and that creativity and putting heart in things, anything to do with your hands and creating things is what what's being lost. So there's there's that whole cold AI. I always wanted, Kelly, I don't know if you were like me, I used to watch all these movies from the 50s and 60s, and I'd see when I was younger, and I'd see these graphic, back then they were called commercial artists, and they were doing their rendering and stuff, and I used to say, I want to have a drafting table and be like them. And then I got to design school, and I was like, oh fuck, this is all computers. Right? I was like, I want to do it all by hand.
It's all computers.
You know, when I left uni, I got accepted into like the very first I think you had a similar story, the very first computer animation program in Brisbane.
I got offered a job by Disney to be one of the first to go to, I was 18 or 19, and I got chosen out of like 900 people across Australia to get a job with Disney to be an animator, and they said that if I did it for a year, that they would send me to the US and learn the new computer animation technology that they had, and I turned down the job because I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting and being
I ended up doing creative writing at uni. How dumb is that for a degree? But
well, I did playwriting, so
So it is interesting though that we look at it, like how many amazing musicians in the world, artists, sculptors, you know, anything creative that now has to be funneled through this very small online music. And how many musicians never learn an instrument now because all of their work is just on a keyboard online?
It began with Cher. Do you believe in love? Remember when her voice got all now no one needs to know how to sing, right? It's a machine.
Look how many artists are just alive in the last 100 years, but they want us to believe that the previous thousands, 2,000-3,000 years before that, there was like 4 artists. That's all there was. Sorry. You know, everything gets attributed to them.
I actually did a debunk on the world's art as part of my talks last week.
I love it.
Yeah, and it was cool. Like I looked at all of like Da Vinci's work and how literally impossible it would have been to paint those, you know, the pigments used in the artwork are finer than our finest printers today, that they definitely weren't like using mortar and pestle and fucking horsehair brushes. Like, no way. That some of the
there's a magic that's disappeared, right?
But like that, but even that, like the great master artists were not like, they weren't the artists we were told, and they certainly didn't paint them in a way that we would know as painting. Like, it's impossible. Their use of light, the pigments on those brushes, and some of the murals on the ceilings of some of these buildings. I don't know if you guys have looked at them, but they are fucking they're unbelievable. Like, you just can't, like, there's one and I can't remember what it's called, where you're literally looking at, if you're looking up at the ceiling, it's huge, and it's like an illusion where the building is continually extended higher and higher and higher into the heavenly realms, and like there's just so much detail to the finest detail on like an infinite amount of beings, and it's just would defy, you would literally break your neck. No, it wasn't the 16th chapel. It was actually that we've been, all our attention's been on the 16th chapel globally. That's the, but the 16th, but there are so many more extraordinary ones. But anyway, we deep dived on it, and I really like went into it, like being along with the sculptures, you know, the marble statues that were impossible that one man in the 17th century with the chisel fucking like that cut these out of one block of marble.
Look, that goes into my theory that I think I talked about in Melbourne, where our we could go on and on and on about this, but we're going to have to cut it off some point. But where what if our look, there is a video that I did about the Sphinx, and you've got to go back and look at it.
I've seen,
probably link it before, right? And how, but it's our thought, because, you know, with Tartaria, for example, everything is so beautiful, and all the ratios seem to be perfect. It actually comes from a frequency. It manifests instantly as it resets. So like there's this, the consciousness is at this level of perfection. It's like, and then that's how these buildings are created. That's how the exact mathematical structures, that all of these pyramid structures that are on the turrets of all these churches, that all have the same exact angle, 76.3 degrees or whatever it is, right? Every single thing has this exactness to it. That what if, as we are dreaming up the new world or the new simulation after reset, that where our humanity or our consciousness is, it manifests it into being in this exact way. And when we wake up, we go on as though it was always there, and the history was already pre-created for us.
Kind of like the mandala effect in a really ruditory version of it, you know.
Well, we are affecting the past and the future while we're doing this, because as consciousness evolves and expands,
palindromic time thing,
it keeps affecting the past and the present. So as we are looking back, and we may have people with documented evidence of something that occurred they are deeply studying that thing, and then they can't find evidence of that thing they're studying anymore. That's the Mandela effect. So it's the consciousness shifting all the time. But that's just that notion of of resets. How often are resets occurring? Can we set our watch to it, or is it happening simultaneously? I think we literally just went through a reset in August. I really do.
That has to be another show. I mean, for sure. Because like, let me work with that theory for a second, JC. Like that's amazing. So, because, you know, we've been like looked at the idea that the moon was an actual snapshot. Like last reset, it was like you know, when you stare at a candle and you open your eyes, it's like you get that negative, burnt memory. So imagine if, like, when there is a reset, which ties with the solar flash or something from the sun happening, that whatever the consciousness is of the dominant population is what is flash frozen and is what you wake up to. So like, if that is the case, then fucking hell, how amazing is this whole audience to be having such amazing imaginations and like questions, and like bringing our consciousness to such extraordinary like ideas and visuals and amazing. I mean, hello.
And that's why some of us are being called to call on the masses to manifest this new earth everyone keeps talking about. When we get to the new earth, it's kind of like, let your imaginations run wild, people. Let your imaginations run wild. Stop looking at the idiot box. Let your imaginations run wild, because you're manifesting the new reset. That's what you're doing. Amazing. And it's just going to be like that, right?
So this is why our live events are so fucking important. That we are bringing a mass consciousness to an 8-hour sitting where we are going to deep dive so thoroughly into the imagination. Well, we are going to bring
8 hours of this.
Yep.
Hey,
And
that
we're
was
going to
this.
bring everyone's imagination into like extraordinary new visuals in their own mind with the new questions as we go through this. And we always start with such a beautiful summary, so you're all primed with such gorgeous hello. We've got the whole steampunk Tartaria, like genre to work with. It already is so high visually, imaginatively creative. And I mean, that to me is why it's so amazing and important we go live, like in real life, on stage with a real audience. Like that is the important, that's taking it out of the AI, right? That's taking it out
Absolutely.
of
It's a
behind the
visceral
screen.
experience. It's a visceral experience, guys. And when you come to the live events, you feel it. That everybody said in the Melbourne event that they felt the love. They felt this palpable energy that was just is full of expansive. It's not that feeling of there's sometimes when you're on stage, you can sense everything, and there's like you can hear tittering in the audience. We didn't feel that, did we? We felt this really beautiful, loving, expansive, inclusive sort of energy from everyone, and that's the experience you get when you come when you watch us on stage. And this is going to be amazing.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Yep. I mean,
should we wrap it up?
yeah,
Probably
absolutely.
Should.
I've been walking all around. Yeah, amazing. So, hey guys, like I'm so excited to welcome our audience to this tour that we're about to announce. I'm really excited to have it organized, so we've got it like all happened in advance, and we can eradicate all of these admin issues we've been having. And like, thank you to all the volunteers that have stepped forward to support us in this movement. Really hand on hearty ness towards you all. And guys, like amazing to connect with you both today. Like it's been a while, so it's been really fun.
So
I've been
much. When we do the Sydney thing, I want you guys to stay with me.
Yeah, we've just been
definitely. I've been walking around the property trying to get away from the sun and the noise. Here I am now. Like my bush washing line is behind me.
I love it. Well, at least you're getting your clothes washed. That's great.
All right, my darlings. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Love you both. Miss you both. Love all the audience, guys. Hope you enjoyed this.
Yep. Big love to everyone. We will catch up with you next week. Campbell, we'll have a show out again next week. And JC will speak to you really soon. We love you. All right, see you guys. Have the best week ever. Bye. Well, there's heaps of videos. Sorry, Campbell, go on.
You go, Cal.
Yep. No, you go, buddy.
No, you go, Cal.
You go. We want to.
Everybody, we're dealing with really bad internet. We're dealing with two
Everybody
bad
go.
All right. So I was.
No, that was it. Just
This is a comedy.
Go, Campbell. Listen, audience, it's not JC, it's our fault. It's not our fault. He's got a lag. We try our hardest.
not my fault.
All right, Cam, honestly, this is your turn to speak. Look.